Schneider Electric is proud to sponsor this podcast series. With a purpose to empower all to make the most of our energy and resources, our mission is to be your digital partner for sustainability and efficiency. At Schneider, we call this Life is On. Know more at se.com/au. My name is Jo Taranto and I'm joined today by Alex Butler, Water Futures Research Consultant at the Institute for Sustainable Futures at UTS. And today we are talking about digital transformation and the future of home water use. Alex, thanks for joining me.
Thanks so much for having me here.
What have we been seeing when it comes to smart water appliances, Alex? Is there an explosion of new technology? What will the home of the future look like?
Yeah, there's actually a lot of really exciting emerging technologies on the horizon. A lot of them aren't yet available, like on the market. You couldn't just walk into Bunnings and buy them. There are some like really interesting smart tech which we're seeing starting to emerge, but I think the focus of this study was probably more on that 5 or 10 year horizon frame. So we were kind of looking into the future, what will be there, what kind of can we see coming over the hill as we embark on digital transformation as communities.
And the project you've been involved in focuses around people in Western Sydney. Can you tell me a bit about it?
Yeah, so it definitely does. I think Western Sydney was used as the stimulus to figure out the types of people and dwelling types and buildings and communities that we might see. But I think this research is also more broadly applicable. And so even though Western Sydney might have been used as the case study, I think a lot of the findings are definitely more widely applicable. But the project was really a futuring piece. We were thinking about what are the emerging technologies that we'll be seeing in people's homes, and we tried really to define a very specific number of homes and building types to explore what kind of people will be living there, how will they engage with this type of technology, what will be their motivations for using the technologies, and really I think we imagined a community, we imagined a precinct, and I think we established 4 building types. So we had our eco-luxury apartment building, a group of people who were living in, in an optimized ecosystem of super smart tech that integrated smart water tech and smart energy tech, like to its highest kind of highest level, all the way to like a social development housing. And, in that particular dwelling type, we explored some really specific, I guess, vulnerabilities that those people might be facing, and how emerging technologies might overcome some of those vulnerabilities.
And Western Sydney, for people who aren't familiar, is going through some pretty rapid greenfields development. Was that an interesting piece in terms of looking at this technology? Will that accelerate the implementation potentially?
Yeah, well, definitely with systems level or city level technologies. So I think if you zoom out of someone's home and have a look at the community as a whole, you're going to have all this, new data being collected with like stormwater harvesting technologies or water reuse technologies that are actually implemented, under parks, and you won't even be able to see them. You're just walking through a beautiful green space, and but the technology that sits under that, the tanks that are there to prepare for really heavy rainfalls, and that they can actually help, communities prepare for really extreme weather events, which we, are expecting to see more and more of, both less rain, so like drought scenarios and flooding scenarios. And I think a lot of that systems level technology will be integrated into those green spaces.
And so Sydney Water was a partner on this project. Their vested interest obviously is because they're part of the developments out there. How did you guys work together?
Well, this particular project is actually part of a broader body of work that is looking at, I think, what's possible with digital technologies. And so we're actually undergoing a trial in stage 1 of technologies in a commercial building out in Rhodes, which is also in Sydney. And then this forms stage 2, which is the futuring piece. So I guess the trial is current, kind of what can we do with tech now? Then this is like the looking forward into the future. And then I think the third stage of the project hasn't yet been undertaken, but that will be really understanding more about how AI can be brought into the digital space and I guess used to optimize all of this smart tech even further. But Sydney Water, it was really awesome actually working with them. I think the way that we undertook this project was really collaborative and really iterative. It started how most of our projects start, because we're a research consultancy, with us doing this initial research and scoping phase, where we kind of acquired all this knowledge about the types of dwellings we might see in Western Sydney in about a 10-year horizon, and the types of technologies that might be emerging and the types of people might be living there, and how do they interact with water now and how might they interact with water in the future. And then kind of from that initial scoping phase, we developed our visualizations, which very, very collaboratively with Sydney Water, to try and really form pictures of different scenarios of people that, real people and what their real experiences of, all this new digital technologies might be. And that tool that we kind of developed with Sydney Water, I think it was quite an innovative approach. I don't think visualizations are used commonly in futuring pieces. And so I think actually that the way that we developed the visualizations and then use them in workshops with Sydney Water and other experts was probably definitely at the core of this project, and definitely led to the implications that we found afterwards.
You're listening to the Australian Water Association podcast series, and I'm speaking with Alex Butler from the Institute of Sustainable Futures. So the visual narratives that you've created, can you explain, was that on the end of the scope that you did in terms of research? Like, how did you come up with what the specific dwelling types would be, the people who would live in these places? How did you come up with the narratives?
Definitely through understanding the trends of Western Sydney. I think there is a rapidly growing and also simultaneously aging population. So I think we have an aged care retirement village that we kind of decided would be quite appropriate for that region, as well as we're seeing quite a diverse range of people from different cultures and different backgrounds. So I think one of the visualizations or the buildings that we made was this mid-range apartment building, which really was an exploration of different what it would be like for very different people to interact with the same technologies, and how they would kind of are diverse in the way that they have are diverse in their water literacies and diverse in their water behaviours, but kind of how that all comes together in one building type. I think actually in that mid-range apartment, we introduced it was like a gaming app sort of thing, so that you could compare with your neighbour and be like, as you walk into the apartment in the foyer, there's this huge board that's like, congratulations, level 3 had the best water usage last week. It's down 20% from like a month before. And, they're the superstars in the building this week. And then, if you're a level 1 resident, you come in, you go, oh, that's not, that's not on. Like, maybe I do need to start using less water, and maybe I'll ask my neighbour up on level 3 what they're doing to, how they're using the tech a bit differently to, lower their water
Australians
usage.
do have a very healthy respect of competition. Yeah. So I think you're onto something there. So can you tell us about how you decided on which emerging technologies that you would explore? Because I imagine there's a whole gamut of tech that you could look at. How did you choose the specific ones for the visualizations?
So we actually did a really thorough, scan of emerging technologies. There's a few really useful databases where I think companies or people who are developing technologies that may not yet be on the market kind of have them listed, I suppose. And so we had access through Sydney Water through Sydney Water's connections to some of those databases. And so we kind of explored a huge range of emerging tech and tried to not so much go on specific brands of the technology, but distill it down to what are the types and trends of technologies that we're seeing. So we saw lots of the digital innovations in technology means that the users will have more control over how much water they use. You can turn it down on it, simply on a tap, saying I want half a litre less a minute or whatever to be flowing out of the tap, and then the user could adjust that. There's also trends like user interfaces actually being embedded into technologies. Like if you're having a shower, there's almost like a little mini iPhone screen or something on the side of the shower that says, hey, you've been going for like 3 minutes, just so you know, like use a little bit less water, maybe. So we tried to only have, the main types of technologies that we would find in a normal house. So we focus on taps and showers and toilets and grey water reuse technology as well. Basically upgrading a current house, because in the next 10 years, you're not going to see insane developments in the type, like in the physical things that people use. Like people still use toilets and still use showers, but those actual devices have been improved or optimized.
Can you tell us what these visual narratives actually look like?
So we've got a few different perspectives, I think. Imagine you're looking at a community from a bird's eye view. That's our first perspective. We have the overview of the precinct, and you can see the different building types that exist within that precinct or community. And then we zoom in. So then we have the building level where you can only see one building or one apartment, say the eco-luxury apartment. And then, so that's our second perspective. So you have the overview of the precinct, and then the building level. And then we have kind of one step further where we've zoomed in even more to an individual apartment within that building. So I think for the eco-luxury apartment, it's almost like as if it was a cutaway. I don't know if you've been watching Lego Masters, but one of their recent episodes where they're doing cutaways. So you can fully see the entire story of within the house. You can see into their bathroom, you can see into their kitchen. And what we've highlighted are kind of little coloured kind of backings to the technology that is smart. And in actually the eco-luxury apartment building, all of the tech is smart. You've got smart taps and smart showers and smart toilets and smart washing machine. Everything is talking to each other. Everything is talking to the user, to the resident, and you can even see the resident there kind of on their phone, gathering all the data that they've got. And we also have these explanatory flows around the diagram. So you can see the people in their homes with their technology, but you can also kind of, it's a bit meta, I guess, see how the technology is talking to each other or where the water is flowing, depending on the perspective that we're exploring. But yeah, they're quite practical. They're quite real, I think. I really like them.
You're listening to the Australian Water Association podcast series, and I'm speaking with Alex Butler from the Institute of Sustainable Futures. What were the implications of the visualizations that you created? You've mentioned that you use the narratives and some of the visuals to workshop with Sydney Water and other partners. How were they useful to prompt, I guess, further thinking, and what came from that?
I think the best thing about having a set of visualizations is that you can really quickly get a group of experts with a range of experience on an understanding of water efficiency and a range of expectations on what the next 10 years will hold. And you can really just get them on the same page, in a matter of seconds by looking at this one image that portrays this, a particular family using a particular device in a particular way. And you can, get them on the same page and say, hey, look here. What are the problems we could face, or what are the issues that we need to address to get here? I think, the visual medium is really powerful in that. And it just meant that the conversations that we were having could be very focused and very like nuanced on the particular tech that we were trying to have people imagine the implications of, I guess. But the more like useful implications of the visualizations was that through workshopping them and having all wild kind of conversations about all the things that could go wrong, like, will my landlord be able to know when I'm having a shower in my apartment? Like, and all the privacy issues that could be surrounding that, or, how will, would just like the landlord example again, would a landlord have a look at our water bill and notice an increased spike in usage? And is that just us using water less efficiently or using more water? Or do we have an extra tenant in the house that like we actually haven't told them about? And like, what are the privacy issues around that? And there were all these other kind of range of issues that we explored too. And through those conversations, we distilled them down into 6 very key areas. We've called them orientation markers, which we've then put in, I guess, a report called A Field Guide to the Future, which is the 6 key areas that utilities will need to think through and workshop when they prepare for digital transformation in communities.
Are you able to tell us about some of those markets?
Yes. yes, I am. So data privacy is probably the one that came up a lot, I think, because there's a lot that's unknown about who will own the data, who will have access to the data, how will it be shared between different stakeholders, between obviously the owner of the appliance and the manufacturer. Some of the technologies that we're seeing is actually the manufacturer themselves that have a portal that collates all the data. So they actually have access to it. So what does that mean? Some of the other issues or the areas that we've raised were equitable benefits for users. As technologies are rolled out in homes, how will we ensure that people have equal access to them? I think that was quite explored in the social housing development area in particular. We also have we call it technological interoperability, which is about the hardest combination of words you could put together. But it basically just means, how will all these different devices made from different manufacturers work together? Will we be able to create cohesive systems that actually respond to, one technology device can respond from the inputs from another? Maybe a rainwater tank, a smart rainwater tank gets weather data knowing that it's about to rain, and we'll be able to empty its contents in some form, sending the water to a different use so that it is ready to intake an extreme amount of water, so that there's less like flooding going on in an apartment. And maybe the user is prompt to wash all their clothes right now to help with that, to use some of that kind of reused or stored water. But yeah, we have a range of key areas for utilities to focus on.
And it sounds like for users too, there's a transformation obviously for utilities, but wow, the user experience is going to be quite different. Yeah. So it's, I guess, flagging some of those potential issues or opportunities as well.
Yeah.
Can you tell us about where this work's heading next? You mentioned that there's a further phase. Is that what you're going to be involved in? Is there further research on the horizon, or are you actually looking at implementing some of these outcomes?
Well, I think trials of technology is probably where a lot of people are starting. I know Sydney Water has a trial of it's called like a grey water reuse or recycling system called Hydroloop at the moment, which is awesome. It's about this fridge-sized piece of technology that takes inputs from, I think it's like washing machine, from the washing machines and from sinks and from a few other areas in the house, and actually like reclaims and recycles and treats the water and sends it back for kind of an in-home water recycling plant almost. So there's trials of lots of technology which is happening at the moment. But one of the things that we're really, really keen to do is to engage with planners to workshop these, like the 6 areas that we've come to. So as they plan to roll out, plan for the communities of the future, I guess, that they are thinking through, I guess the 6 areas that we have suggested for them to think through.
How can people find out more, Alex, about the report and those key insights?
Yeah, well, they are available publicly, which is awesome. But I think both Sydney Water and ISF's websites have access to the report. And within our report, which explains all of the research and actually includes all of the visualizations that we've developed. So if people want to explore, then they can do so in the report. But that's where our field guide to the future is as well. That outlines the 6 areas.
I've been speaking with Alex Butler, Water Futures Research Consultant at the Institute for Sustainable Futures at UTS. Thanks for your time, Alex.
Thank you so much.